What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back with another video. Today is another segment of NHL news. There's a couple things that I wanted to discuss in this video, and I want to do these more often. So if you guys like this style of video, let me know, because I'm going to bunch together some interesting NHL stories that I want to talk about or you guys can suggest. So if you guys want me to talk about anything, make sure to comment that down below, and I will get to it. I promise I will. So there's just, as you can see by the title, there's two main topics in this segment. And it's Mike Babcock and James Neal. James the real deal Neal. So I'm going to start off with James Neal because it's been like one of the biggest storylines and biggest stories that have gone on so far to start this season. Now, before I start this, make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Join the squad. I'm trying to get to 7,000 subscribers. And yeah, I talk about all NHL teams. You might see a lot of Leaf videos on here. But it's because they've been playing a lot recently. I just do reviews for those games. But I want to talk about, well, I do talk about all NHL teams, so make sure to stick around for that. But getting back to James Neal here, we all know what the big part of the storyline has been throughout the whole thing, is that the Flames and the Oilers, and two rivals, made a pretty significant trade in terms of contracts. They traded James Neal for Milan Lucic. The Flames obviously moving on from James Neal, which is unfortunate, and the Oilers moving on from Milan Lucic. That also unfortunately hasn't worked out long term. For both these teams, it sounded like a good addition, okay? Because when Milan Lucic came to the Oilers, McDavid was coming in, you know, the whole team looked like they were being built properly. You had some young guys, they got a defenseman in Larson, although you had to trade Taylor Hall and that trade hasn't looked that great, at least, you know, for that first year, Larson looked like a pretty decent addition to that team. They had a good, you know, bundle of people like Nugent Hopkins. They were excited about the season that was coming about. With the Flames, it was like, you know, you had James Neal coming in to an already impressive team, and you figure, okay, you're banking on Neal for like 20 goals. This is going to be great. The Flames are going to take another step. And over time, for the Oilers, in the Oilers' case, you know, Lucic was good for like one season, and then after that, the money wasn't worth it. For the Flames, it only took them one season to figure out that this wasn't going to work, and they had an opportunity to make a trade. So both teams figured, let's swap, and hopefully we can get what we're looking for. The Flames were looking for probably some decent output as a depth player, but a physical side to help a guy like Kachuk not have to take all of the physicality. And then the Oilers were hoping that Neal would bounce back. Well, both teams have gotten what they wanted, but I'm here to say that I'm just telling you right now, the Calgary Flames aren't just going to be happy with Lucic just hitting people in the face, like getting in fights and getting penalty minutes. I'm sure they want some production from Lucic. The Oilers are getting exactly what the Flames wanted. But this is to another degree. James Neal has started off the season with 7 goals. And what have they played? 4 games. The Oilers are 4-0 to start the year. So the Oilers are finally getting some production from secondary scoring. And once Nugent Hopkins gets going, he only has 2 points in 4 games, and they're both assists. Once he gets going, the secondary scoring is going to look really good. Maybe Yurko can throw in some points. Zach Kassian has been a decent secondary scorer, 3 goals and 2 assists for 5 points already. James Neal is looking good. So if we're looking at James Neal specifically, last season with the Calgary Flames, he had 7 goals in 63 games. He has 7 goals in 4 games. The season before that with Vegas, he had 25 goals. The season before that with Nashville, 23. Before that, 31. It goes on and on and on, you know, dating back to the 11-12 season when he had 40 goals. And then, you know, he had a bit of a rough stint the first 20 games with Pittsburgh. But before that, he was just, you know, scoring 20 goals since he entered the league, basically. So it looks like if he keeps playing like this, he could have 25 goals. You know, you hope that he doesn't drop off too much. He will. He'll cool down. Hopefully he can get some assists. But if he ends up with 24 goals, 25 goals by the end of the season, which, guys, there is going to be a slump, that'd be great. I mean, if he comes out here and scores 40 goals, which I definitely don't think is going to happen, that would be insane for the Oilers. They need that. McDavid needs that help. I mean, this Neal trade is going to look obviously really good. But in terms of the other side, Milan Lucic, 4 goals, -2, no points, 26 penalty minutes, which I guess is what the Flames were looking for, was a guy who can fight and hit and, be a tough guy for them. But I'm sure they're going to want some points out of it. But I want to know what you guys think about the Oilers to start the season. And I think I'm going to make another video specifically talking about what they could do, because I've wanted to do an Oilers rebuild for a long time. I might take it to the PlayStation and make realistic moves like that I actually think could happen in real life, not like 10 first-round picks for Austin Matthews. I'm going to make, trades that actually make sense and show you guys on paper or online how it will look, how I would make some moves for the Oilers. So that's just what I wanted to mention with James Neal. I'm super pumped for him in the Oilers, and hopefully he can keep it up. Maybe not to that degree, scoring 4 goals in one game. We know that's not going to happen again. Well, we don't think it will. But, at least putting up some points. Now, Mike Babcock, my next point here. And again, I will get back to the Oilers in another video. I want to do a full rebuild type of thing for them. Mike Babcock. Now, the reason I'm bringing up Mike Babcock is because there's been already times this year where I've said a couple things, nothing mean or anything like that, but things that I wasn't happy about that Mike Babcock was doing with the players. Like, not putting out your best player when you need a goal at the end of the game, or the best player for that game. Not playing certain players enough time on the ice. Overplaying certain players. Now, keep in mind, the Leafs are missing 2 key pieces to when they're healthy. They're good additions. Zach Hyman, when he goes back to that Tavares and Marner line, he fits perfectly there. He's a guy that can give you 40 points on that line and get them the puck. He just works better than Kapanen on that line. And that's not to say he's better than Kapanen. It's just he works better with those players. Travis Dermot is a top 4 defenseman in the NHL. He is a very, very talented guy. He will help that blue line so much when he comes back, and that'll make the Leafs blue line even deeper to where they're going to have to make a tough decision. So that's going to be good. Now, Mike Babcock still shouldn't be just said, okay, well, it's early. And I hate to be this guy. I see both sides of this. First off, I want to say let's cool it on, Babcock's already on the hot seat. I think that you have to wait quite a bit longer until you say he's on the hot seat. I think as an entirety in this year, everybody should always be put on the hot seat. You want to be able to tell somebody, listen, we need to win or else your job's on the line. Like, this is a business. This is not a $10,000 business. This is millions and millions and millions, hundreds of $1 million business where you need to always perform or else you're not going to stay here very long. People are on Kyle Dubas for some of the contracts he's signed, but keep in mind, he's gotten Tavares done, he's gotten Marner done, he's gotten Matthews done, he's got Nylander done. Riley still has a couple of years left. Anderson has a couple of years left. You can deal with those contracts later. He's gotten Kapanen and Johnsson to good deals. Whatever. He's done a lot. So he's brought the talent here. He got a guy like Tyson Barrie. He got Muzzin. The talent's there. Now it's up to the coaching staff and the players to get it done on the ice. And the reason why I'm saying Mike Babcock is because of the little bit of problems that he's had already to start the year and the backlash he's already getting for it. And that's coming from all media outlets. It's coming from fans. It obviously doesn't matter as much until your GM or your president starts getting on your case, which we don't know. We're not in those rooms. But if it keeps going the way it is for the Leafs, there's going to be problems. Now, I'm not saying that the Leafs are done. Again, it's early. What is it? 5 or 6 games into the season. Guys, we need to chill out a little bit here. But on the flip side, I also agree with people, and I'm one of these people that always preaches that every 2 points that you can get matters. Anytime you can win a hockey game, those points matter. Those games at the end of the season will sting a lot. Look at what Adam Wilde brought up on the Steve Dangle podcast, and I've said it before on a live stream too. It's you play last year. You play teams like Ottawa who find ways to beat you, or you find you lose a tough game to Montreal like they did already this season, where they're down or they're up 4-1 and then they lose. They a comeback happens and you lose 2 points. You get 1 point. Those games can be the difference between you passing somebody in the playoffs by the end of the season or you having home ice advantage. The Leafs and Bruins were 7 points apart last year. Think about some of the games that the Leafs choked in last year or lost to bad teams. You win 3 or 4 extra games, you're you have home ice advantage. Now, obviously, the way it went out, the Leafs technically had home ice advantage because they were winning games in the playoffs, but they ultimately lost in TD Garden in Game 7. Whereas who knows what would have happened if they played in Toronto. Maybe the intensity is a little bit harder on Boston because they've never been in that predicament against Toronto before. They did in Game 6, but they won. So you have to look at all the different possibilities here, but I think that we should tone it down a little bit on the Mike Babcock being, possibly fired this early on. I think it's honestly a little bit ridiculous. I can't believe I'm even talking about it, but just because people have been talking, I just wanted to give my 2 cents, and I believe that we kind of need to relax a little bit on the whole maybe he's going to get fired thing. You have to wait longer until something like that would happen, but that's just what I wanted to discuss today. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. I'd love to have more hockey conversations with you. Join the squad. Let's get to 7,000 subscribers. I appreciate you all as always, and I'll see you in the next video or stream. Peace.